Hello and good evening. It is another Wednesday, and at this time, 8:30, this is where I go on live and to answer your questions on email marketing. My name is Andrew, and let's share this screen so that I can go ahead with the presentation. Let me see. There you go. I'm going to put myself here. So my name is Andrew, and I help businesses build deeper relationships with their prospects and clients through emails. Although I may end up doing more than that or deliver more than that for my clients. To the idea is to help make selling effortless. Okay, and if you have any questions and you like this session and you like to have your questions answered, especially with regards to email marketing, then you are free to submit your questions to this link, ants.digital/ask Andrew anything. If you have your phone with you, you can always basically scan the barcode. It will lead you to a Google form where you just need to put in your email address and fire off your questions. Okay, then I'll gather the questions, do my research if I need to, and prepare a simple presentation to answer your questions, and I'll do it in the following week. Okay. The next thing is if you like what you hear and you like to follow me, you can follow me on my LinkedIn. And I'm mostly active on LinkedIn for now. And this is my LinkedIn profile, ants.digital/LinkedIn. It will lead you to my profile. You can tap on the follow and also the bell button. And that way you'll be notified whenever I make any new posts. And I write mostly about email marketing and business. Okay. So last one. I do, obviously, because I do email marketing, I also provide free resources. There are actually three resources. One is email marketing for the B2B sector, another is the B2C, and I have one that I basically share one email subject line idea a day for the next 365 days. I think so far, I've run close to about, I think, 70 plus emails already. Let me check. I'll be hearing some sound. Are we still broadcasting? Okay, we're fine. Cool. So there you go. All right. So with that, this session is done free. My idea is to help to spread the use of emails, proper use of emails at the very least, that will help you grow your business and obviously grow your bottom line. Okay. So the first question of this week is from a gentleman called Simon. And he's asking basically, can I use ESPs? ESP stands for email service provider, or basically a service that allows you to send email in bulk. Okay. So ESPs like MailChimp, you probably heard of it. MailerLite, which I use. Active Campaign. And I think last week in our Three Marketers episode, we interviewed a gentleman from Smiley. They are a pretty big email ESP in Estonia. So you should check them out, SMAILY. So Simon is asking, can he use these tools to send cold emails? Okay. So my advice to you is no, it wouldn't be appropriate for you to use these tools to send emails for cold emails. Cold emails means basically you're sending an email to somebody who may not know you, and you're trying to basically reach out to build a connection and to explore possible business opportunities, or maybe basically explore whether they may need your services. Okay, so there are two areas of emails. Okay, so if you're looking at cold emails, that's one, and the other one is basically inbound. Oops. All right. So let me move this out. So when you use stuff like MailerLite, MailChimp, essentially is basically inbound. That means a person actually gave you the right, or basically give you the permission to email them. Now you obviously now know that I don't have a degree in art, and they basically give you an email address, right? And to you, so that you can then send them updates or communication to this person. All right. So this way, because the keyword here is, because the keyword here is permission, this person has to give you permission to send emails to him or her. Okay. So that's what you call email, and that's where you use tools like MailLite, MailChimp, ActiveCampaign, lots of them out there to send. So that's the proper use of this tool. Now, like I mentioned, when it comes to cold email, it is essentially you trying to find somebody's email. Let's say mine, okay? Let's say you have a service on, let's say, web design, and you somehow went to LinkedIn Farm and managed to get my email, and you want to write an email to me, to reach out to me, okay, to propose or to get in, to try to encourage me to get into a conversation, which eventually link to an opportunity for you to propose your service. Okay. Now, when you do this, okay, this is what you call cold outreach. First, the key point is this person do not know you. So you have to find a way to so-called establish some connection or initial connection. It's just like cold calling, all right? In those days with phones, it's cold calling now. So with email, it's cold email, that's all right? Cold calling, cold email, all right? So when you do this, the tools that you use, you should be using specific tool like, it's the wrong tint of green. Let me use another green. So you can use tool like Mailshake, right? Well, at the moment I can think of Mailshake. What's the other one? Lemlist, right? So the keyword, if you want to do a search, you cold emails service providers, okay, cold email platforms. So these sort of emails are different because it allows you, the idea is, remember, you're reaching out to someone, some stranger or somebody, and the person wants to be able to basically reply back to you. Okay, so you want to send a ping out and then get a ping back. So software like this allows you to track whether the person replied to you. So the beauty is they actually can build, let's say, a sequence of maybe 2 or 3 emails. So when you say, okay, if I send the first email and within 3 days, check whether has the person replied to me. If it's yes, then basically I will do my manual conversation. But if the person has not replied, the system will send a second email to remind them that, hey, I sent you an email a couple of days ago. Have you managed to see it? If not, I just want to reach out to, talk about this or some other things that can be of service to you. So then monitor for another 2 or 3 days. If the person has not responded, then you send a third one. Okay. So this is where you use tools like Mailshake and all, because they will basically be tracking the response from the person that you're sending the email to. Okay. Whereas if somebody sends a reply back to, let's say, an email, inbound email that you send out, tools like this do not track replies. Okay. As far as they're concerned, it's almost like a broadcast mechanism, and they don't track replies. Whereas tools like this, especially for cold emails, then you use this. The second key differentiating factor is your domain has to be, well, preferably is separate. The reason from your, let's say, your main domain, all right, so you have set up a separate domain just to do this. The reason why this is necessary because you're reaching out to the cold person, for example, or not a cold person, but basically some stranger, the rate of unsub is going to be pretty high, right? Depending on how well you write your emails. Okay, so if you just say, hey, just for reach out, I do this, obviously you're going to get a lot of unsub, and you may get a fair bit of complaints because the person did not give you permission to write to them. Okay, so it's almost as good as spam, right? So you want a separate domain so that at worst, this domain will not affect your main, let's say, inbound domain that you use for sending out emails to people who already given you permission. Okay, so these are generally the key thing that you basically want to be aware of. and not use the normal ESPs to actually send your cold email. So that's, let me see. Okay, so Facebook user, I don't know who you are, but anyway, thanks for responding. Cold emails are often enter spam. Yes. Any teams to go about it? Okay, cool. So Simon, I hope I've made it very clear. Do not use the normal ESPs to send cold emails. If you want, especially in bulk, right? So the software like this allows you to send maybe, let's say, 50 emails a day, and you may have a list of, let's say, 1,000. Don't know where you get a list from, but let's say you have a list of 1,000. Every day you will send 50 and will track the response and then we'll send the subsequent ones. Okay, so this is how you use automation. At worst, you just use your normal Gmail or basically your Google account or email to send one by one. All right, so that's one way of doing it. Okay, to address your question, yes, cold email often enter spam. So the few things you need to do is this. One, you need to make sure you have warmed up your email domain. Okay, because the ESPs will be tracking and say, how reliable, the reputation basically of this email. Okay, and second thing, obviously, they want to see what is the spam rate. So, new email domain, for example, is generally set up by, let's say, spammer, because it's going to be hit and run. So they buy $50 for a domain, and then you're going to spam the people to as far as they can go. And then after that, if it's burned, they'll burn off the domain and they start another one. So for you, if you're sending a genuine, obviously you're in a genuine business, that's why we are here having this discussion. So you want to make sure that you have a proper domain, number one, and it's proper warm up. Warm up means basically you send to the people, for example, build a reputation of people who open and click on your emails first. So you start by basically, there's tools, for example, like Lemlist. They would basically help you warm up your domain over a period of 15 to maybe 20 or 21 days, where they send within their circle. And what they do is everybody will open your email and all those things. So when it goes to the actual ESPs or the good Gmail and all those things, you have a pretty good reputation. And because they would have the record, somehow or other they have a record to see that, oh, well, a lot of people have been opening your email, so very likely you're coming from a genuine source. All right. Number two is, you want to, when you want to send emails to the genuine, to reach out, so-called the genuine people, your content, your header, or your call, your subject line, then your content has to be very specific. That means you don't send to, let's say you've got a list of 100 people, you don't send the same people all these 100 emails the same. It has to be personalized. Now, when it's personalized, that means I'm talking about personalize the subject line and also the content. Then it will increase the chances of people opening your email, and obviously from there, reading your email. Okay, so this is something within your control. So if you are lazy and says, well, just written a standard blog text talking about web design, and this is what we offer, for example, and you send it out to that 100 people, I can guarantee you, you would have, because it's not relevant. First, you are reaching them without permission. Second thing, you're sending things that's not relevant to them or doesn't pique their interest. You would guarantee to have a lot of spam complaints, right? So even if you do this, even if you get it done here, the second part, if your content is not relevant, you will still fall into that gap. Okay. So first, obviously, this one you can manage. Second thing is decide to write very personalized. So if you are writing to me, for example, and I happen to be speaking on a webinar, you may refer to that webinar and says, I like this. I've check out your website, for example, and I found that there are certain areas that I think can improvise on your website, and these are the tips. Now you're providing value upfront, and then it will trigger me and say, oh yeah, it seems to make sense. Okay, let's reach out, let's discuss, right? Now you have this conversation. But if you send me a cold email and reach out and say, hey, I'm XYZ from where, and I do web design, and I help you with SEO and whatever it is, it has no relevance to me. It does not speak to my interests. So obviously, after you send maybe 3 or 4 emails, I probably report you as spam, right? But because I'm in the email marketing business, I'll probably just unsubscribe, right? That'll be nice. But generally, this is what, when you reach out, These are the things you need to be aware of. Okay, cool. Thank you. Thanks for participating. So, Simon, and I don't know who you are. Okay, I'm not going to check the Facebook, but I hope you understand. All right. So let's move on to the next one. This is from Kit Hong, and Kit Hong, I think is a guy. How long or short should an email be? Okay, this is an interesting question. The general answer would be, Kit Hong, as long as the email delivers the message, the intended message clearly to the reader and gets the reader to take a specific action. Okay, so that's very general. So let's look at some example. So I'm going to start with short, super short, medium, and to a super long one. Okay, each one has a place to play in depending on the way you write and depending on the audience. So the first one, this is a term or basically a technique coined by Dean Jackson, and he is one of the so-called the original marketer or very well-known marketer, and also a digital marketer as well. Okay, and his method in this case, okay, let's put it in its context. He's using this for one, either to reach out to people who have not opened his email, and he's going to basically get them to come back into their newsletters, for example, to engage with his newsletters or whatever emails that he's sending. Second thing is it could be at the middle of a sequence where, let's say, he sent a sequence of 3 or 4 emails, and he may want to slip this one in to actually trigger a response from you. All right. So Dean Jackson's 9-word emails is something like this. For example, are you still looking at growing your blog traffic? So that's all. That's 9 words, or probably less than that. 2, 4, 6, 8. 2, 4, 6, 8, 9. Okay. So 9 words, email, and then it ends off. And basically it says if you're interested, you can reply, or basically it triggers you to reply. Right. So if you do not reply, then maybe he will just drop you off from sending any more emails. All right. Another example is, are you still looking for a new job opportunity in banking? Are you still interested in improving home security, for example? Are you interested in looking your home painted or getting your home painted? Or are you still considering buying a new car, for example? Questions like this framed in a very simplistic manner, designed to trigger a response from you. Okay. So this is super short, right? This is a super short category, and it's generally based on Dean Jackson's method of using the 9-word emails. So you may want to try this, but if you're running a campaign, you slip it in the middle of your campaign, or probably at the end. When they open the email, they have not responded, or maybe they have not opened the email, you can use this 9-word email to send to at least force them to trigger a response. So for example, if I write a newsletter, I may just use this 9-word newsletter, and I know that this person has not opened my emails for the last 45 days, and I'm going to make a decision whether I may want to unsubscribe him or her. I may just write a simple 9-word email that says, hey, no, you have not opened my emails to you. Are you still interested to receiving emails from me? All right. So you don't have to be tied to the idea of just limit to 9, but plus or minus, the drift is one single sentence. Okay, so that's the idea. So that's for the short one. So a middle tier one could be something like our dear friend Neil Patel. All right, he basically addressed the problem, basically do a quick summary of the situation, and then give you a solution, which is either to watch his YouTube video or even to read his blog article. So this is like the middle tier between super short 9-word to something in between with some context to actually get you to take an action. In this case, for example, he'll be talking about how to figure out what to focus in less than 15 minutes on a particular thing, right? So in order to do that, he has to give you some context as to what it's referring to. So that's where the first few paragraphs, and then subsequently the call to action. So this is the middle tier one, which is generally used by almost all of us who does email marketing, all right? And especially if you say, I'm not the type who are very good in storytelling, I just want to deliver my message, you would be using 80% of the email marketers who probably use something like what Neil does. Now, on the other end of the spectrum, right, the extreme end of the spectrum, could be something like somebody like Bill Muller, right? His business is about storytelling, and storytelling even in email form, for example, right? You notice in Bill's case, his email are super long. Okay. Now the reason why it's super long because he actually embed a story into the email. Okay. So it explains the story, and eventually in the end, if you notice, it basically link you to a simple CTA. It says, this is what he teach in his story sales machine training. All right. So for context, he basically use a story, use the metaphor, for example, okay, or maybe what he has learned and all, and then link it back into his CTA, his call to action. Now, this one is something that not many people can pull off. The reason why is because you got to have the ability to get the reader to read first paragraph and entice them enough to go to the second paragraph, to the third paragraph, and so on and so forth until you reach the end. So that is not easy to carry out. Sometimes, I don't do that because, my storytelling, I'm still building my skills on that. But generally speaking, unless if I'm inspired, I may, but in most cases, I will avoid doing this unless you have the capability to actually use words to get people to move, like, basically a page turner. All right. So if you can do that, yes. Now, the power of this is by virtue of doing this, you have longer read time. That means the reader is a lot more engaged. And if the person can read to the end, then the chances of the CTA or somebody clicking the CTA will be very, very high. Right. So it is pretty high conversion stuff, but generally not many people can actually pull it off. So for you and I, or normal people, for example, especially if you're starting in email marketing, I would recommend you to stick in the middle for now, build your skill sets after writing, maybe a couple of thousand of emails, and you build that the ability to actually use words and turn it into action. Then you can do something like Bill. Okay. But in Bill's case, even if imagine if you do this for, let's say, for a B2B audience, this may not work, right? Because the audience wants to know the information and what they need to do next, and that's about it. So that's why emails like Neil falls into the middle ground and fits both B2C and B2B. Bill would be more B2C because it is an individual. So his story has to be able to appeal to that particular individual because he or she should be able to take a decision to buy something from him if it's relevant. Okay. Whereas, on the other end of the extreme, if you write this to your existing audience, makes sense, right? So you can use a 9-word email for your existing audience. So generally in context, big picture is write as long as it delivers the message clearly to the reader. Number one. Number two, gets the reader to take the action that you want them to take. That's as good enough already. All right. The second thing is if you want context, then you can start with 9-word email or use basically something that most of us do, but 80% of the population or email marketers do, is write, a very relatively short emails to deliver the message, give context as to what he's referring to, and then give them the CTA to act. Or if you're super good in writing, then yes, you can try Bill Muller's method of basically turning stories, linking them into a product that you want to sell or promote, but it's driven by the story. Okay, so that's generally the three things you do. So with that, today I've managed to only answer 2 questions. I hope this session is useful for you. And if you're interested to do, or basically to want to try, and you find that email marketing is something that you may need in your line of business because you're already running ads, and your ads, you collected leads and leads are not converting, and you do not know what to do with it. You spend money on the leads. You want to give the leads a second chance to be able to convert eventually. So you may want to consider taking me up on this 7 days email sprint, where I actually work with you to actually build your email system from ground up, start your email marketing, and within a month we will look at the results, and then from there you will be able to validate whether email is something you can do, right? So if you want, let's get on a call. No obligation. I'm not going to pitch to you. I'm basically going to understand where you're coming from and whether it's something that I can really help. If not, then I'll probably direct you to the right direction. It may not be an email case. You may not necessarily need it. If you do, I will let you know why and how you need it, and then you can make a decision. All right. So get on a 15 minutes call. Let me understand. If I can help you, I will. If not, then let's be friends. All right. So the link is ants.digital/7 day sprint. Basically, it will link you the simple calendar, pick the right date and time of your convenience, and then we'll get on a phone call or get on Zoom call nowadays to actually talk about it. Okay, so that's it for today. And if you have any questions, just submit to this, and I will answer you like questions that Simon and Kit Hong and our dear Facebook user. I don't know who you are, but anyway, thank you so much for participating. Um, I'll respond. I'll basically give you an answer next week. All right. So thank you so much. Have a good evening, and I'll see you next Wednesday at 8:30. Andrew Wong, the email guy, signing off. Cheers.